your patience and cooperation. Boarding will begin in a few moments.
Hello YouTube and welcome, Phriq here, and I've got another flight for you in my Let's Play Flight Simulator X FSPassengers video series. For this flight, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be setting up a request I got. I was requested to fly in Grayson County, Texas, and because I want to fulfill all of my requests, I'm going to start heading there. Unfortunately, we're not going to be flying there in this video because I am about as far away from that location in the United States as I can get, as I am in the northernmost part of Michigan. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be flying from the airport that we are at, which is KTVC, or Cherry Capital Airport, in Traverse City, Michigan, and flying straight south basically through the entire state of Michigan along the east coast of Lake Michigan to get to KSBN, or South Bend International Airport in South Bend, Indiana. It is going to be a relatively longer flight. I am going to be using VFR flight rules and VOR navigation, and for this relatively long flight, I am slated right now through my flight planning to connect to 4 separate VORs. However, that might change since a couple of them are relatively close together, so I might be able to bypass one. However, as of right now through my flight planning, I'm scheduled to connect to 4. But without me talking about my flight planning or the flight anymore, let's go ahead and get into the checklists, get the plane started, and get passengers on board. As always, if you want to follow along in the checklist, which I do encourage, I do have the link to the checklist that I am using in the description box below. Again, we are flying our Piper Archer 2 by Carenado. It is the plane that we got in our last video, so we're going to be flying this plane. It does not have autopilot, but it does have some other features, and it's still a fun plane to fly. So that is why I'm doing it. Anyway, let's get into the checklists. So, like always, I'm going to be skipping the pre-flight inspection where you're inspecting everything on the outside of the planes. My flaps are down. I'm going to go ahead and put those up. And we're going to be skipping that because, for simulation's sake, I can't do it in a video game. So we're going to go straight into the start checklist. So start checklist. Avionics power switch. We want to make sure that that is off, which you can see it is off right there. Beacon and nav lights, we want those on. As always, my beacon is on, but I'll go ahead and turn on my nav light, which is right there. Circuit breakers, we want to ensure they're all pushed in. I'm going to hide my yoke, and the circuit breakers are right there. In this game, you can't push them in, so for simulation's sake, again, that is going to be assumed completed. But in real life, if you wanted to push in your circuit breakers, they are right there. Fuel selector valve, we want that on the desired tank. Again, glitch with this airplane is it shows both tanks, or all, for the selected tank, which it doesn't actually have. It's either a left or right tank, but I've tested it. We flew last time. It does pull fuel from both tanks, so we're just going to leave it there. And that way we don't actually have to switch fuel tanks, which is kind of nice, actually. Carb heat, also we want that in the off position, which you can see right there. It is showing carburetor heat, and it is in the closed position, or off position, or cold position. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to throw up our mixture all the way into full rich since we are relatively low in altitude. I'm going to open my throttle about 1/4 of an inch. Brakes, we want to make sure they're on, which we can see the lever is pulled out. Parking brake is showing up down in the bottom left-hand corner. Propeller area, we want to make sure that's clear, so we'd yell out the window, all clear, all clear! And master switch, we'll go ahead and turn that on, and I'm also going to be turning on my alternator master switch at the same time. Electric fuel pump, we're going to turn that on, which is going to act as a primer for the engine, and you can see the fuel pressure increase then. And then what I am going to do now is turn on my ignition switch, so I'm going to go ahead and turn that, and we can see that our engine has started, and we have a little bit of fuel going through the throttle, so what I'm going to do is turn off my fuel pump, which is acting as the primer. Throttle, we're going to adjust to about 800 to 1200 RPM. Right now we can see on the tachometer that I'm about at 1000. I'm going to leave it there. Oil pressure and all instruments in general, we just want to check them to make sure they are in the green. For the most part they are. You can see oil pressure is a little low, however that is because we are so close to idle. If I were to throw up my throttle, it would start to climb to the green, but I don't want to have it that high when I'm not doing anything and I'm just kind of idle on the taxiway or on in my parking spot, so I'm going to leave it there. Next thing I'm going to do is turn my avionics power switch on, and also my radios, which you can see are on. And before I start setting those freaks, what I'm going to do is go into FS Passengers, and let's start our flight so we can start loading passengers. So I'm going to start flight. As you can see, there are 2 passengers who are ready and willing to fly with us, so I'm going to select both of those passengers right here. So we have 2 passengers in there. Also in this aircraft, it does have a 200-pound cargo capacity, so I'm going to bump my cargo all the way up to 200 pounds as I make a little more money that way. So their luggage obviously probably is not 200 pounds. However, we can assume that we are carrying some other cargo, maybe a kidney for a child in South Bend, Indiana who needs a kidney. So this is also an emergency mission, so we need to get there. That's why I have 200 pounds of cargo. It's a really big kidney that weighs about 150 pounds. So maybe the kid doesn't want it, but that's what we're going to be doing. Fuel capacity, we can see that our aircraft load is only at 72%, so we are still underweight, or still lower than the maximum. So what I'm going to do is bump up my fuel to 100%, go into advanced fuel, and make sure it is equal in both tanks. So we have 2 passengers, our luggage is at 200%. I'm not going to exceed it. I've seen some people where they do exceed it. However, I try to stick to realism, so I'm not going to exceed the maximum cargo allowed in this kind of plane. So I'm going to stay at 200 pounds, even though I could bump it up and make a little more money because my aircraft current load is light, but I'm not going to do that. Next thing I'm going to do is set my destination. So the ICAO code for South Bend is KSBN. Oh, that's BN, which is South Bend Regional. It's showing up in the game, but in SkyVector, my aeronautical chart, and also AirNav, which is basically a digital airport facility directory, it is showing up as South Bend International, so it must have upgraded its name within the last 10 years when this game was made. So we're going to be selecting that airport, hit OK.
Destination set.
Thank you, British lady. We're going to go into select type, and we're going to do a normal flight since we're going from one departure airport to a new arrival airport. So we have our typeset, our destination. We have 200 pounds of cargo, including that child's kidney. Passengers, we have 2 of them. Fuel is at 100%, so we look pretty good. So what I'm going to do is go into OK real-time load. As you can see, we got to hit Shift-E to open our door, and it's going to take 2 minutes for the passengers to board. The card here is showing that the load is pretty much the same as it was last time, so I'm fine with the data sheet and load manifest. So what I'm going to do is hit Start Flight, and I'm going to hit Shift-E into my started aircraft so my passengers can start boarding, and then I'm going to go into my avionics panel and set that up. So as you can see right now, we got frequency 121.8 still set. That is the ground frequency for Cherry Capital Airport. 124.2 is Tower, and 119.17 is Addons. So I'm fine with those comm frequencies right there. 114.6 is the frequency for TVC, or Traverse City's VOR, so I'm going to leave that there. And I'm also going to change this one to the VOR that I'm going to, which is going to be the White Cloud VOR, which is 117 decimal, I can't see what I have written down, a 6, so 117.6. So I'm going to have that there. So in my VOR indicator 2, it's going to be the White Cloud VOR, which I'm going to be flying to, and right here it's going to be the VOR that we are flying from. Also, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be flipping this around. Don't want that. I'm going to flip this around because we're going to be flying at a heading of 188 to get to that White Cloud VOR. So what I want to do is turn this basically to where it is on the south 188. So right there is 180. Keep on turning it a little more. There's about 190. So I'm going to go over about a click or two, and that should be 188, which is the heading that we want to be on, the radial that we want to be on to intercept the White Cloud VOR. So we have our frequencies set up. I'm not going to be doing anything with the ADF right now. I rarely ever use the ADF. Also, I'm going to turn my transponder on to standby, and right now also we'll just keep it on our DME, our distance measuring equipment, on VOR 1. So we're 4.3 nautical miles away from that Traverse City VOR, as we're not connected to the White Cloud VOR. Also, my passengers screen, I'm going to put that all the way up there so I don't have to look at it. And I'm going to fasten their seatbelts since they are in, and shut the cabin door. Next thing I'm gonna do is contact Addons to get the weather information. So I'm going to turn to my COM 2 as that Addons frequency is down here in my COM 2 panel. So I'll switch to COM 2.
Traverse City Airport information, Charlie, 2115 Zulu, wind 027 at 9. Visibility greater than 20 miles. Climate condition, few clouds at 2,100. Temperature 10, dew point 3, altimeter 3000. Visual, runway 36 in use. Landing and departing, runway 36. View of our aircraft, stay direction of flight. All aircraft read back, hold short instructions. Advise controller on initial contact, US Charlie. Traverse City Airport information.
Alright, so I have my information. What I'm going to do is go back to COM 1. It is information Charlie, 027 at 9 are the winds. Few clouds below or at 2,100 feet or 2,100 feet. Altimeter is set to 3000, which you can see right there. And we are going to be runway 36 is going to be our primary, so that is the runway we're going to be going to. So we have our Addons information. Next thing I can do is pull up my ATC window. I'm going to shrink that to size, and then I'm going to contact ground and say that, hey, we want to depart to the south.
Traverse City ground, Papa Hotel, Quebec 36. Request taxi for departure to the south with Delta. Papa Hotel, Quebec 36 with taxi to and hold short of runway 36 using taxiway Lima Golf Charlie. Contact tower on altitude 4.2 when ready.
Alright, so we're going to approve that. They want us to contact tower on 124.2, and we're going to be taxiing to the active runway, which is runway 36 via Lima Golf Charlie. Also, my guy said that he had Delta, so between the 1 second that it took me to switch from my Addons information to contacting ground, the Addons information changed from Charlie to Delta. I'm assuming it's the exact same thing, and so I'm not going to listen to it because it was like 2 seconds later. With that said, what I can do is I can turn off my parking brake, and I'm going to quick pull over my airport diagram just so you can see our taxiway instructions. So right here is the terminal. We are in Cherry Capital Airport, which you can kind of see right there. And we're going to be going on to Lima, which is right here. It's going to be the western side taxiway. There's also a Gulf too, but we're going to be on the west one, Lima, going on to taxiway Gulf. And we got to find Charlie. So we can see that Charlie is over here on the left. So we know that once we get to Gulf, we need to make a left turn. Get to taxiway Charlie, then we're going to be crossing runway 10/28 and continuing on that basically through all of the general aviation areas till we get to C1, which he never specified, but that is going to be Charlie. And whoa, excuse me, that was wrong. We're going to be turning left at Gulf. We're not going to be crossing any taxiways. We're going to be turning left on Gulf on Charlie to get to Charlie on runway 36. So I almost botched that. It's a good thing that I looked at my airport diagram. It's a great thing for having airport diagrams. That way you know your taxi instructions. So what I'm going to do now is I have my parking brake off. I'm going to hit Shift P, and I'm going to start backing up. While I do that, I am going to look out my window to make sure there is nothing behind me that I am going to back up to in through the pushback. Hopefully the game would be smart enough to stop pushing me back if there was something behind me, but I don't trust the game that much. Didn't see anything, so what I'm going to do now is hit Shift P again to stop my pushback, and then I'm going to hit it again and hit 1. And that'll start turning my tail to the left, which you can see is happening right now. Still nothing behind me, and that is going to set me up so I can turn onto the taxiway, which is basically directly behind us, which is going to be that Lima taxiway. While I'm getting this pushback finished up, I'm going to look at my pitot heat. I want that off. Instrument panel lights, it says on, but it's actually off. Landing lights, we're going to keep those off. Fuel pump, we're going to keep that off. Nav lights on. And my pushback, and we can start giving it a little bit of throttle and getting into our taxiway. So you can kind of see the taxiway kind of to our right. There it is. So that's where we're going to be heading. You can faintly see yellow on black is where you're at, and it shows taxiway Lima. and here is Golf. So as we mentioned, we are going to be taking a left on Golf to eventually take us to taxiway Charlie. So that's what I'm going to be doing. So I'm going to be turning left right here. And getting to taxiway Charlie. Not crossing any other runways because we do not need to. So depending how low these clouds are, since I am doing VFR flight, what I'm going to have to do is dodge them, it looks like, to get up to a cruising altitude, which I am going to utilize. Depending on what the tops of these clouds are at, I'm probably going to cruise at 5,500 if that's above them, but the clouds are at 2,100 for their bases, so I would assume the tops might be slightly above that. If they're higher than 3,000 feet, they might not be. We'll see, otherwise I'll cruise at something a little different. I'm going to pull back my throttle. Turning left. And scratch that, we're actually going to be 4,500 or 6,500 because we're almost going to be going east in our heading too. So using VFR cruising altitudes, since it's more of an easterly direction, you want to be on a even number plus 500 for your altitude. So it would be like 4,500, 2,500, or 6,500. So we'll initially start by thinking of cruising at 6,500. Right now we are on taxiway Charlie. We're going to keep going on taxiway Charlie, and then it's eventually going to hang a right, and that should be on runway 36 then, the hold short line for runway 36. Pulling back my throttle some. I was getting a little quick, especially with the turn coming up here. I need to wear shoes when I'm doing this because I do not have shoes on right now, and it's a lot easier for some reason to use my rudder pedals when I have shoes on. It's kind of like driving a car without shoes. It just doesn't work the same. And I think it's illegal to drive your car without shoes, so don't do that. At least it is here in my state, maybe not for yours. As you can see, yellow and black is where we're at. We're on taxiway Charlie. The white and red is the taxiway, so that is 36, or runway 36. Had a little hiccup with our frame rate there because my real-time weather was being assembled. I used Rex as the real-time weather. Alright, we're at the hold short line, so I'm going to pull back, and I'm going to hit my brakes and turn on my parking brake. I'm going to go back to my checklist. I didn't really vocalize the pre-taxi checklist. The flaps, we want to make sure they're up, which they are. Avionics and radios are on. Transponder is set to standby. ATIS information we got. Altimeter is set. Also, during the taxiway, you kind of naturally test your brakes, your compass, altitude. As you can see, we're basically facing straight west now, and we know that because runway 36 is here, which will be pointing north, so we know that looking this way at it, we have to be facing west, which also lines up with our magnetic compass, so we know that our heading indicator is working. Turn coordinator and artificial horizon, all that, we're working also. Taxi lights weren't on, but we're going to go ahead and turn on our landing lights now. And we're going to go into the run-up. So what this is going to do is check our magnetos and a few things like that. So I have my brakes set. Seat belts and harnesses are in the upright and secured position, as well as the cabin doors and windows closed and latched. Flight controls are free and correct. Primer is in and locked, which I never even touched my front primer. It does have additional primer aside from the fuel pump right here, if need be. Some of those colder days where your engine is really cold, you might need to actually use the throttle lever right there, or the primer lever right there. Fuel selector, it's still on both tanks, which is not real. Fuel pump is off. Mixture is rich. Elevator and rudder trim, we can go ahead and set that. And in this plane, it doesn't really show a takeoff position, so we're just going to keep it where it is, basically at about 7 degrees right there. That should be relatively close to our takeoff. Annunciator panel, we can test that by pushing this button right here, and you see that those lights come up. This is just telling us that our oil pressure is low because we're pretty much in idle right now. Autopilot and air conditioner, I don't have autopilot. Air conditioner plane actually does have that. You can see it's got a heat and an air conditioner. If I come in and zoom in on it, you can see there's a heat and a defrost, I guess. But we're not going to be using any of that because it is a video game and I'm comfortable in the room I am in. Throttle, we're going to run that up to about 2,000 now, so I got to look down at my tachometer and push in my throttle here. You can see that the RPM is rising on the tachometer. We want to get to about 2,000, but I'm slightly moving outside, so I'm going to pull it back just a little bit. Keep it about right there. I'm going to do this fast because we're moving, but what I'm going to do is test my magneto. So one magneto down, we can see a little dip in our RPM. We're going to bring it back up. RPM is going to increase again, bring it back down 2 to check our other one, another dip, and bring it all the way up. So we can see that our magnetos are working. Carb heat, you'll see a bigger dip with this when I turn it on, so I'll turn on my carb heat, and you see almost 150 RPM dip on the tachometer, which shows that the carb heat is working. So I'm going to turn that back to the cold position. Amps and volts, you want to check all that. Everything is looking in the green. Fuel is up. And you can see that we got a positive charge rate here in our ammeter. Oil pressure and temp are in the green, so we're going to leave all that. I'm going to pull my throttle back to idle, or close to about 1,000 RPM, which is about a quarter inch in. Flaps, we're going to set them for takeoff, which is 1 detent of flaps, so I'm going to go ahead and set that. Pitot heat, I am not going to have that on since it is fairly warm outside. If I go through clouds or experience possible icing conditions, I'll go ahead and turn that on. Heading indicator, adjust that to the compass, but we can see it's pretty much adjusted, so we're good there. And transponder, we'll turn that to the alt setting right there. So we'll keep it right there. And next thing we're going to do is we're going to turn our active frequency to the standby. And that's 124.2. Pull up the ATC window again, and we are at our runway ready for takeoff. So let's go ahead and request takeoff clearance VFR from Traverse City Tower.
Traverse City Tower, Papa Hotel, Quebec 36 at runway 36, ready for takeoff. Departure to the south. Papa Hotel, Quebec 36, hold short, runway 36. Traffic is Bombardier, Seabover 700 on final.
Alright, so we're going to acknowledge that. We have to hold short.
Hold short.
There's a Bombardier right there. There's also a Dash 8 behind him, so we might be holding short for a little bit. That is alright. We can see the Bombardier is pretty close. We're going to see if they're going to let us try to take off before that de Havilland Dash 8 gets by us. Or if they're going to want us to hold for that too. That's kind of a nice, cool look at the Bombardier coming in for the approach. Nice little smoke trail from the tires, and it almost looked like he bounced there a little bit, unless that second poof from the tires was from his front tire, possibly.
Exit runway when able.
Alright, so he is exiting. Let's see what they allow us to do. Oh man, there are 2 aircraft in on final. 2 Dash 8s! This is unacceptable.
Orbit 1156, contact ground on 121.8. Papa Hotel, Quebec 36, cleared for takeoff, runway 36, south departure.
Perfect. I'm turning off my parking brake. We are cleared for
cleared to land,
takeoff, so I'm going to start going there, and then I'll acknowledge it.
Cleared for takeoff, runway 36, Papa Hotel, Quebec 36.
Alright. Seatbelt sign is on.
Runway 36, orbit 765.
Got more airplanes coming, so we need to get off this runway. So I'm not going to be vocalizing the takeoff checklist. I'm just going to go ahead and get this bird in the air. So here we go for our takeoff. Because there are other planes behind us who are going to take off as well. So let's get it going. We're at about 55 knots. We're approaching that decision speed. Also, we're passing 60, up to 70, rotate, and we are off the ground. Start trimming slightly. It's pretty close on the trim, actually. I'm pretty happy with that. We'll stay on this heading now for a little while. Basically want to fly along that airport heading, or the airstrip heading, until we get a little further out. Making sure not to fly into these clouds which are here, however. Now, I do have relatives that live in Traverse City, Michigan. I wish I was actually flying there, because then I could see them. Flaps are down. I'm going to put them all the way up now. Retrim. I don't want such a steep takeoff, or climb, right? You can kind of see the Traverse City Bay area right here. And we're getting far enough out where I'm going to start turning to the west. Just a slight bank, because I want to keep going north a little bit. See a sailboat down there. Traverse City, like I mentioned, if you've never been there, it is a beautiful city. So I would recommend, if you've never been to Traverse City, to go there, because it is fun. Alright, this is going to be a little tricky too, because we're going to have to find an area where we're going to be able to climb out, and I think I'm going to try to do it right there where my mouse is. Getting far enough from runway 36 where I can start turning left again. Start heading south, and we're going to be breaking the traffic pattern right now, because right now we're pretty much turning into the downwind, but I'm going to be exiting it at about a 45-degree angle, and I'm going to try to fly between these clouds right here to get above them. And I am going to hope that once I get to South Bend that there are no clouds below me, where I'm going to be able to descend still using VFR flight as my rules. You can see we're climbing, so we're about at the base level right now at 2,100 feet, and you can see that that is showing up accurately. All the clouds are at about 2,100 feet. We're staying deconflicted with them, though, trying to keep our VFR flight rules going. I know you're supposed to stay, I think it's 2,000 feet away from them horizontally, which hopefully, it's hard to tell in the game exactly how close they are. But hopefully we are further than 2,000 feet away from them.
Contact ground on 121.8.
We're still climbing. We're holding about a climb rate of about 600-700 feet a minute, which is good. Look out the front, just to see if I can see where these clouds are.
November 738 Alpha, ready for IFR departure. Runway 36.
I think we're doing pretty good.
November 738 Alpha, hold short. Runway 36. Traffic is.
It'll be an interesting climb out. Anyway, we have completed basically all of our normal checklist, our normal takeoff checklist. We're in the climb checklist. Airspeed, we want it between 76 and 87 knots per the checklist, and we're flying, as you can see, at about 80 knots. Almost a little slow, so we can, we're getting a little higher too, so I'm going to pull back my mixture a little bit to try to lean that, see if we can't get a little bit of power out of there. Otherwise, we're going to have to start increasing our airspeed some, which is going to slow our climb rate. Mixture is rich until you're above 5,000 feet. I started leaning it a little early, but if you look down, I didn't lean it a whole lot, just a little bit. According to this checklist, at least. Engine instruments, we're constantly checking those to make sure everything is in the green, everything is appearing in the green. We need to tune to Minneapolis Center, which is 132.9, so I'm going to go ahead and set that up. 132.9. Flip that to the active, and we're going to request a flight following after we spot this guy.
Cessna November 8746 Charlie, cleared to Traverse City Airport filed. Climb and maintain 6,000. Departure frequency is 132.9 squawk 1446. Clearance void 30 minutes from now. Minneapolis Center, Papa Hotel, Quebec 36 is type.
Turning to avoid these clouds.
Southwest of Traverse City. Request flight following. Papa Hotel, Quebec 36, Minneapolis Center, squawk 7052. Hyper
7052.
7 Cessna Skyhawk, report them in sight. Cessna 61 Papa, traffic is 2 o'clock, 4 miles, 6,000. Hybrid Archer. Report them in Papa Hotel, Quebec 36. Radar contact 5 miles southwest of Traverse City 4000. Altimeter 3000.
Alright, so our altimeter is set. We'll acknowledge radar contact.
Copy. Papa Hotel, Quebec 36. Mooning 48 Hotel. Turn right heading 335. Turn right heading
Some kind of
Mooning 48 Hotel.
updraft or wind shear that 4-star nose straight up, which isn't good.
Mall 4 Butte Minor have the traffic. Beach 5 to Quebec, traffic in sight.
Man, I don't know what's happening with the aircraft right now, but the winds are making it freak out. Look at that. That's not normal. Stop. What? Oh, we're apparently in turbulence, which is making our aircraft go side to side like that. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Oh, no. Oh, no. We have lost engine power. This is not good. I don't know if this is an in-flight emergency, but our engine is not doing full RPM. Go up, go up. All right. Yep. All right, we're declaring an emergency here.
November 7389 Alpha, Minneapolis Center, Roger. Altimeter 30.
Because something is not right with this plane. We have 0 airplane power right now, and I don't know where the airport is. Oh, this is not good. Alright, I think I can see an airport out there. Which direction am I heading right now? I'm basically heading north. So right there is the airport that we're going to. We're going to cancel this flight following. And contact tower again. Tuned to that. Nearest airport list. Alright, we're going to Cherry Capital Airport and tuning to their tower. I'm having all that happen through that. And we're going to request a full stop landing.
Papa Hotel, Quebec 36 is 6 miles southwest with Sierra to land. Papa Hotel, Quebec 36, Traverse City Tower, entered left base, runway 36, altimeter 3000.
Alright, altimeter is 3000.
Runway 36.
Alright, we're going to acknowledge that.
Runway 36.
We're basically gliding here. I think the prop is spinning simply based off the wind going through it. I think we have a complete loss of engine right now. Yeah, something is... Man, I wish I had power right now. Alright, we need to trim up some. We're basically in a glide back right now because we have no power. We're trying to maintain airspeed, but I don't want to put down my flaps yet because that is really going to start slowing me down. So we're going to try to keep cruising at this airspeed, but as you can see, we are dropping altitude. We are not maintaining anything right now. The airport is over there. I'm hoping we can make it. Holy cow. This is something that's completely caught me off guard. I'm going to have no power to land. Alright, so we have declared our in-flight emergency. Passengers seem to have 92% satisfaction, even though our engine is not providing us with any power, and we are in a death fall. Not really, because we have actually a really nice glide back. I'm impressed with the glide back that we are receiving with this aircraft. I want to minimize my turning. One thing about aerodynamics is when you turn, you lose your vertical lift. That is actually what makes your aircraft bank. So you turn your ailerons, and what it does is it changes your lift from a straight vertical lift to more of a diagonal lift out the bank direction that you are trying to bank. Man, we are getting quite low. I sure hope we can make it back, because we only have about 1,000 feet to fall, so I'm not even going to be able to really do a straight final. We're just going in to that runway straight on, and hopefully we can make it there. As you can see, we are losing airspeed as well, so I really have to worry about stalling. I don't want to do that. I actually don't have any flaps right now, and that's how slow we're going, because I'm trying to keep a pitch up attitude right now to maintain as much altitude as we have. We are getting close to the ground. We have relatively, man, we're at about 400 feet. So we are way under on the glide slope right now. Just gonna do a slight turn, which you can see there's a little drop in our altitude. Oh boy, we're going down too much. Too much. We're not gonna make the runway. Not gonna make the runway. Oh no. Oh no. There's trees too. We're going down here. Oh. No, a tree! Oh no, we crashed into a tree! No. Oh. Did I kill us? Oh. What happened? What? No, I'm injured. My health is 75%. Oh, I dropped in rank. This is not good. All right, we'll close that. Mode realistic flight already. Accident report. The aircraft crashed, hitting the ground at 59 knots with vertical speed. That's not very much. There were no known failures on the aircraft. What? No emergency was declared. What are you talking about? Okay, something is seriously wrong here, because I declared an emergency in the air. Terror and grief, 0% satisfaction. The insurance rate increased. Why? What are they talking about? That there was no declared emergency? What else do I have to do to declare an emergency? I thought I had to hit the E. Whatever. Anyway, so apparently we crashed. We're not dead. My pilot's health is 75%. Somehow I'm going to have to redo this flight. I was not expecting that. As you could see, my throttle was completely in, and I was getting no power out of my engine. So something obviously was wrong with the aircraft. It suddenly just kind of died on me. So what the flight report is showing is completely false from what the actual aircraft did. However, with that said, I guess I'm going to have to end this flight. I am sorry that we never made it to South Bend, Indiana. I am sorry for the passengers, and that little boy whose kidney now is not going to make it there. This was just terrible all around. Casualties from the passengers and my pilot being injured, and no kidney to the little boy in South Bend. Not good. Total sim income. Oh, man. Not good. What I'm going to do right now is go into FSPassengers, and I have my aircraft selected, but what I'm going to do is go into my company manager and go to aircraft maintenance, select the aircraft, and you can see it is damaged. I did get insurance money, luckily, and I'm going to use that insurance money to repair my aircraft, which we're doing right there. My pilot is wounded, so we're going to heal my pilot. If you wait and fly with other pilots, he will slowly recover. If I can't wait, it's going to cost us $2 million. Oh, I don't have any other pilots to fly with. So I'm negative money by a lot of money. I don't know what to do. Oh, I think I just failed at my company. I should have created another pilot. I didn't think he would, what does this regenerate? Why can't I do that? Ay. He is downgraded back to a private pilot, as you can see. I have 0 money. I'm never going to buy another aircraft again. And I think everything is completely broken now. So might just have to do a season 2 of FS Passengers because my company is bankrupt by $1 million. I have no money and I am dead. So, yeah, we're just going to leave it at that. I'm not even going to make this a new video. I'm just going to attach this to the end of my last video. So I hope you guys enjoyed it and I'll catch you all next time.